Hi again, it's Jessica, and welcome. If you haven't heard, Paper Pumpkin is offering 50% off for the next 2 months. So I'll put a link in the description box if you want to check that out. I've got 3 alternative cards here in this video. This one is the first one. And you can adjust these settings if this is going too fast. I've already pre-cut everything for this card. The pattern paper came from the envelope, and I used some rectangle stitched dies, which are not stamping up. This ribbon here is Fresh Fig, and it came with the kit. It's a really cute ribbon, and I'm making a little embellishment. That little button came from Stampin' Up, but it's retired. So I just took some natural twine and wrapped that around. Okay, and so I'm using some Tombow glue here and some of the snail adhesive to adhere the little panel down. I had used a border die to cut the little white lacy trim piece there. Alright, so I stamped out the sentiment, and I used the Stampin' Up! Layering ovals, and now I am bundling up the twine. Now this kit came with white. I'm using the natural color, which was in last month's kit. And I've adhered everything down, and I realized that the kit came with wooden embellishments there. I liked the hearts, but I went ahead and put those from the kit on here for the final card. So here is my second card. I used a gingham button that I had. The lemon lime twist striped paper came from the kit, and I used Fresh Fig cardstock, which I had already. It was an A2 size, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Yeah, this paper came from the little scalloped envelope there, and I used a die to cut that. So it cut out 3 squares in that rectangular piece. Now you can use the flowers, the wood flowers that came with the kit, but I thought this little paper punch that I had is a little bigger, looked cute, so I used those instead. And now I'm taking the white thread that came in the kit, and I just bunched it up, and I'm taking my little button. I had got that button from AliExpress, and just tying it around to make a little twine embellishment. Okay, and now just tie a strong knot, double tie it, and then I'm going to trim off those little pieces that are hanging down. Next, I'm going to take my Tombow glue and adhere down this white panel, which is stitched. I'd already cut that out. Now, when I design cards, I'm using this Tombow glue. If you apply the glue and let it dry, it becomes sticky, and when I'm designing cards, this allows me to move the pieces around without damaging the paper, so that's why I do that. And before I send the card out, I'll go back and make sure it's glued down really good. Okay, so I took some white cardstock and punched out several of these, and I'm layering them to make the flower thicker and more substantial. And then I'm going to apply a 1/8 inch eyelet to the center. So I'm marking it first, and I'm using a Crop-A-Dile to punch in the eyelet. I got these eyelets locally from Michaels. You get a little assortment of those for $2.99, but I think it makes a nice accent to these flowers. Okay, now I'm going to stamp the sentiment using the stamps that came in the kit, and I'm actually decided to use the Early Espresso. It's hard to see that there, but it's actually brown. And now I'm taking a little Prima paper distresser, cleaning up the edges and adhering everything down now. If you had the time, you could ink up the edges using lemon lime twist, but I didn't do that. And here is the second card completed. So this card, my third one, is a watercolor card, and actually I'm enrolled in watercolor painting classes now, so I have less time to make cards, but I really enjoy it, so I decided to make a watercolor background. I'm using Daffodil Delight. Fresh Fig also looks great, watercolored. I just ran out of time. I couldn't get any more. I couldn't get anything else made. I applied the re-inker to just a stamping block. Any plastic surface will work, and you can also use a little ink spot if you don't have the re-inker. And just apply it randomly. If you don't have watercolor paper, this is watercolor paper. You can try cardstock. If you have thick cardstock, just wet the cardstock first, and it should work out. I'm using the thicker watercolor paper so it didn't warp too bad. I had used the Stampin' Up! Quilt embossing folder. I didn't show that, but I just wanted to add a little more interest to the paper. I didn't really like those splatters that I put down, so I'm just going back over it to kind of dilute it down a little bit. This sort of look right here isn't for everyone, but you can also make a really nice uniform gradient wash that looks really good. Now I am stamping the sentiment. It's a pretty nice happy birthday, really simple. And I used Fresh Fig ink, and I went ahead and did the black one too. These little banner dies, these came from AliExpress. It's pretty nice. Since I was short on time, I didn't bring my big shot over. I just die cut it off camera. So now I'm ready to adhere everything together. So I'm adhering this panel onto an A2 size white base. My 2-year-old is running around, so that's what you hear in the background. Okay, so I use this little stitched ribbon, which is old Stampin' Up! I used the lacy border again and just a scrap piece of Fresh Fig paper that came from the card that I made earlier. I'm also using the lemon lime twist paper, which I cut in a little scallop. And I took one of the wood flowers, added a gold center. These are just half back plastic metallic looking gems, I guess. And I was trying to decide what looked best, and I ended up just using 2 sequins instead. And that completes this card and the video. Thanks so much for joining me today, and hopefully I'll be back next month with some more alternative projects. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.